truth on fire. They're calling out the world's desire. From fake ideals to moral decay, they're lighting up the modern age. No one's saved, not the church, not fame. They're flipping the script, rewriting the game.
For this show, let's be honest, there are way too many sexless marriages. And the problem is that everybody wants to talk about symptoms. They don't want to talk about the solution.
Because, most people react to what they've been told is the problem. They're not looking at what they could actually change themselves. Today, we're going to be debunking some myths, calling out the double standards, revealing the truth people don't want to hear, and bringing a special guest who has been seeing the back end of this. Most people don't actually get to see.
And our guest tonight is Candice Horbacz. So I'm super excited because Candice has lived inside several cultural worlds. She's been able to see the back end, the front end. She's dealt with sexual liberations, marriage, public scrutiny, and the reflection after the experience. She has spent years working behind the camera in the adult industry and saw what really happens, things most people do not understand. And I've always said, if you don't walk in somebody's shoes, how can you really understand? This might outrage some of you. You guys might not want to hear it, but I still encourage you to listen. If we want strong sons and confident young women, we have to be willing to have honest conversations and make better decisions going forward and understand what porn is doing now and where we're headed for the future.
You can live in a lie or you can understand what the truth really is. So, you ready?
Let's do this.
GLENN and GIA, truth on fire. They're calling out the world's desire. From fake ideals to moral decay, they're lighting up the modern age. No one's saved, not the church, not fame. They're flipping the script, rewriting the game.
Yes.
Hey, Candice, how you
for
doing?
having me. I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well, doing well.
Awesome. We got a lot to get into today. So I want to give you some time to kind of give the viewers that maybe don't know about you or haven't heard about you, give them a little overview about what you've done, where you're headed, the things that you're doing now.
Oh boy. Okay. So I went to school for psychology. At the same time, I started getting into glamour modeling, and that slowly kind of progressed into entering the adult industry. I did both at the same time. I was in mainstream porn for about 10 years, and then I ended up leaving. I did my own production company for a short while. 2020 happened. I started a podcast. I became a mom 2 times over. So yeah, they're multifaceted. I'm very fascinated with psychology, sexuality, culture, all of that. So I kind of tie all of that into the podcast.
You said that you did it for about 10 years, which is actually pretty long, right? For most women in the industry, no?
The average career spans a year.
Now, what was the turning point that made you want something different?
As the industry kind of progressed from when I got in to when I left, I saw a shift in the content that started to become very popular, and then how that affected performers. So one of the ways it was affecting a lot of performers is the ante was kind of always being upped. It had to always be more and more extreme content. And anyone who's ever watched my work, I was very girl next door, very vanilla. I never did the extreme stuff. So that became kind of concerning for me, because as other performers were doing more risky behavior, including shooting with crossover talent, trans talent, your risk for health concerns goes up. And then people like me, and it's going to sound pretty crazy, that are a little bit more conservative, we would kind of get ganged up on for having these views, and we would be called anti-homophobic or anti-trans, whatever the thing is. And it's all of you people that scream my body, my choice about the subjects that matter to you, when we are being faced with the most intimate thing, which is sex, you're telling me I don't have a right to say who I can have sex with. So for me, it just started to feel a little bit dangerous. And every day that I would show up on set, my boundaries were intentionally being pushed and crossed. So I kind of was forced out in a sense, because I started getting blacklisted from all these companies for being.
It's almost like a bullying to conform.
Right, for sure. And the thing is, when you're a woman on set, usually you're the only woman on set. It is all men. So they know that creates a lot of pressure. Women are more agreeable. You're in a very vulnerable position. So most women buckle. I've always been very disagreeable, and that served me most of my life. So I got blacklisted, and then that kind of forced me to get creative. And then that's when I started my production company.
When I got into modeling, I would always wear tiny bikinis, you know? And I know that in the beginning, when I did these tiny bikinis, everyone was like, oh my goodness, this is so shocking. But as time went by, it almost became very tame, very PG, right? So I could see how like everything has kind of gone in a more extreme. And this leads me to the next point. Do you think that the more that you see this, do you think that you have to do more and more and more to get the same reaction?
So the jury is kind of out on this, and it's going to depend on who you talk to. It does get studied. What we have kind of found in a lot of popular research is that, like, if you have an aversion or disgust to something, it's very hard to turn that into something that arouses you. So if you interview some of these people that have watched really disturbing content or even illegal content, if they feel like they're in a space where they're not being judged, the truth comes out that they've always been into that thing. So they kind of needed to give themselves permission to go that route.
Okay.
So you're not going to take like a healthy person and kind of break their brain. Now, what I would say is a caveat, because a lot of this is still so new and we're still learning about how it affects us, is if you do stumble upon this content when your brain's not done developing. We don't know what that does. And I think that that's a totally different conversation. So when I say this, I'm talking about like adults that are watching this content. You're not going to take a healthy adult that is not like, you know, twisted and dark in any way and get them to like that. Now, could this happen to kids? I would say it definitely seems like a possibility. And then that gets into making sure that as the parent, you have like all of the safeguards and monitoring technology to like protect your kids from this content. It is not intended for them.
We are going to definitely be getting into that like as we go along, because that's one of the main things I want to get into as solutions, right? When I decided to taking my modeling and putting it over to my site and just stop putting it publicly, I noticed that I got a huge negative feedback from that. Like I just start getting like all this hate, and they start calling me grifter and all this stuff. So just because I decided to do something else, right? It's almost like they kind of want to pin you in this like little, they want to square the hole, you know, like they want to make you out to be, okay, this is all you can do. And this is all I want you to see. This is all I want to see you as. So when you left, did you deal with, how did the media react when you started doing the podcasting?
Oh, I still get that. I mean, to this day, and you know, it's been like 6 years, and I still get called a grifter, or I get told to go back to the industry. It's almost like it's like the version of shut up and dribble. And then ironically, if I were to still be in that industry, those same people would then be calling me a whore or saying I was worthless, because like there's no winning. So it's the ultimate Kafka trap. So you can't live for other people. I get to decide what's valuable for me and the life that I want to live and the person that I want to be. And you just have to ignore it, because it gets loud. And then when you kind of like take the emotion out of it, you realize how hypocritical it all is.
Your so-called fans are actually your biggest, like they're the haters. In the end, they end up becoming the haters, because what the same thing that drew them to you is almost like a sense of control. They want to kind of tell you what they want. That's why they got drawn to you, because they thought they could tell you how to dress, how to move, how to talk. And when they can't do that anymore, and they don't have the control, now they try in other ways to manipulate and control.
Oh, for sure. And I think women's sexuality has always been something that, you know, kind of gets coupled with control. It's like, we want you to be sexual, but under our rules, right? In like a specific container. And if a woman embodies her own sexuality, and like this is something a lot of like, not men that I meet in real life, but internet men don't understand. It's like they think that everything we do is for male approval. And it's like, you obviously know nothing about the female psyche, because we get turned on by feeling desirable, right?
What we see in the mirror as well. Like we
Exactly
see ourselves that way. So like, it's not just for you, it's what
yes.
we like, you know? And I think that they don't understand that.
No, a lot of it is for us. And they're like, well, you know, why would they wear that to the gym? It's like, have you ever been to a women's Pilates class? Those women are dressed to the nines. Like, I mean, body tights, like stomach showing, cleavage, like right jewelry most of the time. Like the women go all out, and there's not a single male in that class.
You know, it's crazy that you say that, because I travel a lot. When I travel, all the other gyms I go to, especially in South America, are just nothing full of women. They don't have men in there. There's women, and they dress the tiniest little shorts, the tiniest little tops. So it's like when they say, oh, you dress like this for men, I'm like, no, we don't. These are gyms, all women, no men in those gyms. And we're still dressing like that.
No, I agree. I dress like I'm definitely more I would do the more the cutesy outfits for the female classes, and then the mixed classes I kind of look like Adam Sandler. So it's like really the opposite for me at least.
So now for the viewers, because I get this a lot. Like they've been doing this for decades for me, right? They've like stolen my bikini content. They've attached it to porn sites, right? Or to like gateway porn sites. And then they're like, oh, come see her when I've never done porn, but they use it as like the bait, the click and bait, right? So I want for the viewers for you to help them understand that bikini modeling is very different than pornography. And I want you to kind of show that distinction there.
I mean, I think to me it's obvious, and I love when you kind of like go after people on X and you're talking about how ridiculous it is that now all of a sudden we're saying bikinis are pornographic, right? We had like the woman at the White House, she was at the beach with her kid, and like people were sexualizing that. And I think what people are doing when they're conflating something like bikini modeling with porn is you're like taking away the power from the woman to make the decision with her own body, with her own sexuality.
It's a form of victim mentality. Yep.
For sure. Like we get to have our own boundaries, right? And like yours might be in a bikini and mine is obviously a lot more extreme than that. And you don't get to take that away because you're uncomfortable with someone like owning their sexuality and owning their beauty and saying like, I'm proud of this body that I've worked on, right? Like I'm proud of the way that I've shown discipline and like I look like this at this age, right? Like it's not all about sexuality. Like there is something that I truly think that is artistic and beautiful about the feminine physique, and it doesn't have to be sexualized. Like, you know, there's a reason that goddesses' bodies on statues look the way that they do. Like it is literally a work of art. So why would you hide that? So just because you are sexualizing me does not mean I'm sexualizing myself in the moment. And again, I think it's really harmful when you treat women like yourself and you're like, oh, she's such a whore, and you put her in the same bucket that someone's having sex on camera, because what you're doing is like you're shutting that woman down. And there's this saying of never punish behavior you want rewarded. Well, do you want your woman to look good for you and to dress up for you and to be feminine for you? If so, don't make her feel bad that she worked on her body and she wants to wear a bikini. That's crazy.
I talk about this a lot, and I know we're going to get into purity culture as we go along into this episode, but I really do think it stems from a lot from religion, which has always been there to kind of control female sexuality. It's needed for that, right? And it's the extremes, either or, like either the extremes on the pornography side that you pointed out that you didn't like, or it's the extremes on the religion side. And both of those extremes are making a very bad view. It's villainizing what sex is and the beauty of it. And it was created by God. It was created for us to enjoy. If we're telling women not to take care of their bodies, not to be proud of their bodies, and then getting them into marriages where they hide their bodies, get fat, their husbands don't want to fuck them, then what are we doing? We're actually why do we have 80% or more husbands on OnlyFans? There's a connection.
To me, the OnlyFans thing is really interesting. So I do differentiate that from porn, because I think someone that goes on OnlyFans is looking for something different than someone that's going to like a tube site or any other kind of pay site. So with the pay sites, you're going there strictly for content, right? Like and this is going to be something that people argue. You can look this up. Like there's a book called A Billion Wicked Thoughts that is like all statistics and research. It is not propaganda. It's not bias. It's just science, and it's science on sex, and it's science on porn. So most viewers watch an average of like 4 minutes at a time, and it's less than 10 minutes a week. That is like most consumers of porn. Now you do have a subset of viewers that have a problem with it, whether it is like they are excessively spending time on there, it is alienating like the actual relationships in their life. So it's like, even like, let's say it's 10%, that's still a lot of men that have an issue with it. So it's definitely worth talking about. So going back to like what they're going after, I think with the tube sites, it's like a quick video. We kind of are at a place, because men are so visually stimulated, that like porn consumption is masturbation. Like they really do go hand in hand. Almost no men just masturbate without some kind of like visual product, unless it's like part of the play with their partner. Now, someone that's going to OnlyFans, that's a very different story in my opinion. I think that they're going there for connection. So if I was with a man and he was watching porn, that would be a non-issue for me. So I'm like, of course you're allowed to masturbate. Like I I'm not going to always be available for whatever reason. And like your sex drive is higher as a male than mine as a woman. Like to me, that's not something that's going to really bother me. If he had an OnlyFans, that would be a totally different discussion, because it's like you're now engaging with a real person. You're now spending money on a real person, and you're now like outsourcing intimacy and
like there's an emotional aspect to OnlyFans. Like they're getting, in my opinion, they're getting what their wives or their girlfriends or their lovers aren't doing. Like whether it be talking to them a certain way, you know, they're getting something that they're not receiving in their relationship.
That is like, exactly that. It is the parasocial relationship, and that you're obviously like, you can't just like give without taking from another bucket, right? So like clearly there's a deficit somewhere else, and then that's why that's being outsourced to OnlyFans. I totally agree with you.
I know the girls doing well on these platforms usually have a manager speaking in the DMs. Like the girls are not there speaking back and forth. When you say that men are going there to have that connection, that emotional connection, a lot of them know that this is not the girl they're speaking to.
I think most of them know, and a lot of the times now, because AI is now an inescapable part of that industry, just like many others, there's a disclosure most of the time that says, like, you know, there is an AI supplement on here, so you may or may not be talking to the model. So I think a lot of them know, but like that shows how lonely they are. That shows how much of a need for connection that they're striving for. And to me, like a lot of people have issue with this, but there are a lot of chatbots that are very transparent that it's not a human. And like I met this colleague, and he had a startup, so brand new chatbot, like sex chatbot company. He was doing over $50,000 a month as a startup.
Wow.
There was no videos, there were no pictures, and every man that signed up knew it was a robot. So there is absolutely like an epidemic of loneliness and like lack of connection that's happening. Like if you read some of the messages I had, it would probably make you cry. Like these men that have been married for like 20 years and they haven't had sex for 10, or like they're like, I'm doing all of the things right. She just like, she's cold. And if she were to find out I was doing this, she would like leave me. And it's like, well, you can't say that like monogamy is like a trap for celibacy, because that's not fair to anybody. So I do think that you have a responsibility to make sure that your partner is, because to me it's a need. I think it's a need for both men and women. I think you need sex. And if you deprive your person of that, you can't get mad if they're outsourcing it.
I've always stated that, been very clear on social media about that. And I always push back on women who come back with the whole, which you happen to be Christian conservatives, with the whole men don't need sex. You know, like you hear that from
Lila Rose.
Conservatives. Yeah. So
absolutely a need. You guys actually die faster without it.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
That's what I and anytime we have a discussion, I always say, okay, listen, there are hundreds of studies showing that men who have regular sex are healthier, more productive, like their chronic stress is lower, right? There's so many things I could go off of. So, but we don't have alternate studies showing men abstaining does better. Like there's no studies for that. So until you can show me the actual data on it, I'm not even gonna like talk about this right now. It's useless.
No, there's none. And it's all really woo. So they'll talk about like semen retention, and then like, you know, that's how you harness your masculinity. Actually, your testosterone plummets.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a fact that's been studied. Dr. Nicole Prousey is a researcher that has buckets of research on this. No, Nut November is terrible for you. Don't do it. A man has to.
I nut every day in November. It's my rope. No, I'm kidding.
Well, here's like a funny statistic. How many times do you think a man needs to have an orgasm a month in order to reduce prostate cancer by like 80%?
I
think at least every other day.
28 days. 28 times.
That's what I said. 28. Yeah, 28.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They'll go, oh, don't get
black pill.
Yeah, they'll say, don't get married. If you get married, your testosterone will drop. And I laugh because I'm like, no, testosterone isn't dropping from getting married. Testosterone is dropping because the lifestyle.
Or having babies, right? And that's only temporary. Mm-hmm. And then like that is from an evolutionary standpoint. So like they didn't leave the cave and go get killed by a saber-toothed tiger so that he was safe to protect the mom and the baby. So there's a reason for that. And it's temporary and it goes away.
I mean, I think it's hard for a woman that's attractive and also saying anything either pro-positive for men, because then you're going to get like all the women hatred. But at the same time, if you say anything that's even as minimal as scrutiny or scrutinizing men or male behavior, it's you are just a 304. You're just a this. You're just, look how low cut her shirt is, or
Oh, for sure. It's like the classic, logical fallacy of ad hominem. So instead of attacking the idea, you're attacking the person. So if I can, dismiss your worth, your value, your intelligence, because I don't know if you know this, Gio, but you can't be sexy and intelligent. They don't coexist. So if I can put you in one bucket, you're automatically negated from the other one. And that has been my world.
like Isabella DeLuca making a cake. Women can even make a cake without their talking about her boobs. It's like, well, she was wearing a t-shirt. Like, I didn't see any areolas. There was nothing like, no cleavage. I was like, I was focusing on the cake she was making. What were you guys focusing on? And then it's like, really? Is it that ridiculous? So I think there's like a world of extremes. Like Lila Rose saying we need to end pornography. And I'm like, okay, cool. Women don't see, you want to use to say, oh, porn is a problem to shame men. But your issue is not really porn. Your issue is that your man is going somewhere else to get this need met that you want to have sole control over. You want to have full authority over this, his sexuality or his sexual access. But at the same time, you don't want to meet his needs. You want to do it when it's convenient for you. And so he's like, as you mentioned earlier, he's going to outsource it. Well, if you met his needs, then maybe he wouldn't need to outsource it.
No, I do think that the way that a lot of women treat men and their sexuality it's abusive. And I don't think that that's hyperbole, because if you were to switch the genders there and you had men treating women that way with sexuality, you'd be like, oh, like you're misogynist, you're controlling, you're abusive. Like imagine a man being like, you can't leave the house in that, or you can't touch yourself ever unless I'm there. Like just like utter control over that. Don't even look at that guy, right? Just like the jealousy, the insecurity that kind of comes out. If it was reversed, you'd be like, that guy is crazy, right? Yeah. But for some reason, we do excuse it with women. Like I know a lot of women, most of them are older. I haven't met younger ones that have this view, but it's like the guy's not even allowed to masturbate. So it's like that control over your body to me is insane. And like take porn out of it. Like even if he was in the shower, she would have a fit. It's like, what?
You're watching that way too much.
This is why I said that it all comes down to control.
And you said you're not religious personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen all the backlash like Nala Ray got. Was the reaction that she got, would you consider that a deterrent for you even considering like why would I even want to be a part of that group of people if they believe that? Because as soon as like this person claims to no longer be doing this stuff and whatever that they're calling bad, they're still attacking her. Like there's still no grace there. Like, do you see like the way that the conservative Christian groups are treating people that going from what was considered a bad lifestyle to now trying to be a good lifestyle?
I can see where that definitely deters some people. Me personally, no, because again, like I don't like to collectively blame anyone. Like I've met amazing Christians that have had like so much grace and like were very welcoming. Then I've met very judgmental ones that were certainly not walking the walk. So I wouldn't like blame the religion per se for that, but I do think that does deter some people. And it's like, if I'm never going to be good enough anyways, if I'm never going to be pure enough anyways, then what's the point? And I actually went to this Tucker Carlson event in 2024 and Russell Brand was there. And I think John Rich and Russell and John kind of got into it a little bit on stage because Russell had recently been baptized, and then John was kind of like making some jabs at him. And then Russell looked over and he's like, I'm sorry, I'll never be Christian enough. I'm sorry, I'll never be godly enough. Right. And they're like, that's not you as a human. Like that's not your role to prescribe like, eternal damnation or condemnation or whatever. Again, like, yes, call out bad behavior. That's different. But like the piety that comes from some people, I think, I don't think that that's what that religion is meant to be. And I also just don't think that that's a good person. Right. It's like you can establish like the rules for you, the rules for your family, your household. Right. But you do not have the right to do that to someone else. Like I'm kind of a like freedom maximalist, but like you don't get to encroach on someone else's.
Yeah. Like I always say it's like, even Jesus in the Bible has said, the Son of God didn't come here to judge the world, but to save the world. So if he didn't come here to judge, I'm sinful. Like I make mistakes. So who am I to judge you, Gia or anybody, right? Like it's not my place. Like I
Well,
could
we
say
all
this
do,
is,
right? Because the definition of sin is to miss the mark. So
yeah,
everyone does.
lawlessness. Yeah. And that's the other thing. I'm just like, it's not my role to judge her. That's beyond above my pay grade.
They don't want a girl who's attractive to do anything else other than sex. Now we have to ask the next question. Maybe that's why women aren't leaving the industry. Because when I talk to girls, they tell me, well, I'm kind of stuck. Once I've done this or once I've gone this route, even if it's something as little as modeling, okay, take it from me, for instance. Really, if I wanted to make good money, just stay doing modeling because that's the only thing they want to buy. Anytime you move to something that has anything to do with intellect, they don't want to buy anything. They don't even want to hear you talk. So do you feel that is why women aren't even leaving the industry to begin with? It's like men don't want porn to stop, but then they don't want women to do anything else in porn. So it's like both sides kind of doing it to each other.
No, I agree. And I think especially when you do something more extreme like porn, it does close a lot of doors. It closes most doors, really. So if you want to, go be a teacher, obviously that's off the books. If you want to go be a paramedic, like those two things have nothing in common. That's going to be a problem. There was this case, it was like right after COVID, like as things started to kind of lift a little bit. This woman who had been laid off during like the first couple of years started an OnlyFans page. Went back to being a paramedic. One of her coworkers found her OnlyFans page, saw the content, reported her to a supervisor, and she got fired. He didn't get fired. So if we're going to say this is like a morality clause and like this is part of their contract, well, then how does he still have a job? Because he was consuming said immoral content, right? So it is still there still is a double standard. And if you don't want that behavior to continue, like let's say you're very anti-porn, you can't punish people that are trying to transition, who changed their mind. I mean, unfortunately, you can get in at 18. Your brain's not even close to done. Most people, like, to understand the gravity of that situation, you will never know until you make that decision, even if you're an adult. Because, like, I got in, into, like, more of, like, the actual adult content, probably, like, around 21 or 22, so a little bit later for that industry. And I had no idea that it was going to, like, the ripple effect that it would touch, like, my friends, my colleagues, acquaintances, anyone else that I dated. Not that it like they would have an issue with it, but that it would affect their works. Like, I'm like, it's not their decision. They didn't make that content, right? Like this all happened before them. And I mean, to me, I still think that's ridiculous because you can't punish someone else for some, like a different individual's decisions. But it's just the reality of the situation. So if you want the behavior to stop, if you want that kind of culture to stop, then again, you have to reward the behavior you want. And then that's people leaving. That's people like evolving, doing something else, not trying to like push them back into that thing, because then that's perpetual.
What's up, guys? MaCool here. I am holding one of the brand new flavors from First Form, the maple butter. And this is what I use every single morning. It is by far the best products. And I've tried a lot of products in the market. First Form, 100% third-party tested. And on top of that, they taste amazing and they're great for you. So if you haven't tried it, definitely do so. I've added my link down below. The best flavor. I use this in my pancakes in the morning. I also do it in my yogurt. So there's so many ways that you can put the level 1. And of course, I do try the formula 1, which is more of an isolate protein. But if you're looking for a way that tastes amazing and doesn't give you all the bloat and all the nonsense that you deal with other protein powders, this is it. Check it out and let me know. I'm going to add a link. If you grab it, make sure you let me know and I'll send you a little free gift. Wants a woman that he knows is for him, that desires him and isn't going to say no, right? Whatever it is that he likes, he wants to know that you are down to do with him.
Men want someone who's like willing, enthusiastic, like passionate, like devoted, right? Like there to please. And I think it's a two-way street, right? Like I think a lot of women that are opting out of sex too, like aren't having good sex. So if you're not having good sex, you don't want it. Like it is harder for us to climax, right? Like it just is. Like it's our anatomy. Also, our brains play a much bigger role in our arousal and in our ability to actually finish than with men. Like men, it's fortunate for them. It's like a lot of physical stimulation can kind of do the brunt of the work. which is why like even like some toys don't work because they're like you can up the intensity and that's actually bad for that area. Like you like the more delicate you are, kind of like the more intense it is. It's kind of has an inverse relationship. I think a lot of women too, like it goes back to the shame element that we were texting about. I think there's so much shame around sexuality that they are so disconnected from their bodies and they feel like they're not supposed to be loud. They're not supposed to be dirty. Like they're not supposed to enjoy it, right? Like it's only, you know, for marriage and to make a baby and that's it. It's like you anything else is kind of forbidden still. And like, it's a weird nugget remaining there.
That's the effect of the purity culture.
Yeah.
I mean, and I wrote about this. I have a book on how the purity culture, in my opinion, created the hookup culture. Because I would say I was probably one of those guys that were affected negatively by the purity culture. Like it was like if you held hands, you kissed somebody, you kissed a girl, oh my God. You know, and because I grew up in the church. And so I realized how much damage it caused me. Because as soon as like it was like, oh, okay, something happened. Well, I guess I'm going to hell. I might as well enjoy my time here because with this other, because I enjoy this. This was fine. If this is bad, then I might as well. I'm going to hell. I might as well go out happy, right? Like, but they lied to it. They lied to us. It was they used shame and fear to try instead of educating people properly on about sex and how sex is supposed to be enjoyable. I mean, there's so many scriptures in the Bible. I mean, there's a whole book, the Songs of Solomon. It's like a softcore porn novel. I mean, nobody preaches on that, and they want to act as if sex. I mean, just got in this debate last night too. They're like, sex is only supposed to be for marriage and procreation. The Bible doesn't say that. So how about you get off your Puritan high horse and go back to Victorian era if that's what you want, because that's not what it was for. And so I think there's a failure there for a lot of these religious groups. Nobody's teaching them it. And a lot of these young guys find themselves, well, they're getting ready to have sex, getting in relationships. They can't go to mom and dad because mom and dad's telling them it's a sin. So what do? They're going to go watch Pornhub. And that's their educator.
Yeah, you know,
right?
like I say there's two things can exist at once, right? So like when we talk about men watching porn, they love to blame men for watching porn. But then as soon as we say no, there's two things can exist at once. A woman can be depriving her man of sex, and that can be causing him to go to porn.
I made a video about that, and I said, you know, for all these like Christian conservative wives who are saying that, you know, they're going to divorce their husbands for watching porn. My question is, why is he watching porn?
They would have an issue if he was just masturbating with no visual content, if that would be an issue. Because my guess is it would still be an issue.
Yeah.
And it comes down to control.
Yeah.
It goes back to, I want to control when you get to have pleasure. Your pleasure is under my lock and key. And
right. Unless it's like a sub-dom play thing that is so toxic and unhealthy. Like you can't do that.
But even in a sub-dom play thing, the dom is not the dom. It's really the sub. He only has the power, or she only has the power, as long as the sub gives it to them.
For sure, exactly.
So
which is why that's the only container that's okay in.
If he knows his wife's never going to say no to him, he's going to pick her over pixels any day. So
Well,
for sure.
Unless she blew up like a whale. I mean, maybe not. I'm just being honest.
But
like, you
again,
know.
like, and also like I've had conversations with this in the past about why women in these type of marriages actually tend to dress down to purposely keep their husband from wanting them. They gain weight. I know, like, as a woman, like, we know our sexuality is a lot to do with what we see in the mirror.
Oh,
so
for
if we're not feeling beautiful, if we don't like what we see in the mirror, no man, no matter how much he tries to, you know, create a fantasy for her, it's not going to work if she doesn't like what she sees.
100%. That is so huge with female arousal. And it's like, it's hard because it's almost like the worse you feel about how you look, the worse your behaviors become. Like, so you stop eating well, you stop going to the gym, and then you just make the problem worse and worse and worse. And then you wonder why, like, you're not getting sex, and then you're not getting the endorphins, and then you're not getting the connection. And it's like this crazy 8 pattern that just keeps on cycling through. Yeah.
And where a lot of guys fail to realize is like, you got to stimulate her in her mind before you can even touch her body. It's like if she can't mentally like see you satisfying her, then you're not going to physically touch her. It's just not going to happen. Her climax, her orgasm starts in her head before it even gets in her body.
All day foreplay. This is like the thing I preach about all of the time. It is like from the moment you wake up, both people need to be like teasing, creating sexual tension, being playful, being flirty, even
And
being
those
naughty.
text messages randomly,
Mhm.
throughout the day, like, hey, I'm about to go in a meeting and I was just thinking about you when you walked out of the shower. That just right there, you're stoking the
Oof.
fire. You're
Yeah.
adding that like constant flame, the burn. You're adding another log to that flame of desire so that it doesn't burn out. And then when it burns out, you're mad that she's not ready because you're like a light switch, but she's, she needs to take a little bit more to warm up.
We do require more buildup, and then we're ready to go. Like with men, it's like the wind
Light
blows, they have
switch.
boner, and here we're off. A lot of it too with women, like a huge part of our desire is like safety, right? Like if we don't feel safe, like
Safe and secure. Yeah.
it shuts down, and there's a reason for that, because if there is a tiger chasing you, the last thing you want to do is have sex, right? Like you're gonna get eaten. So there's a reason why, especially women, we shut down if we're stressed. Women are picky, we are critical, we are neurotic. There are reasons for this, because the cost of having a baby with you could kill us. So we are gonna hold you to standards that say, I'm going to pick the best one for me because
Yep.
it might kill me.
But no, I mean, what you're talking about is competency. Like you're saying, be a man of your word, follow through. If you said you're going to do something, follow through and do it.
For sure. So like these men that just blame women, like maybe you're not worthy of being a mate. And that's why you're getting this behavior. So you can blame like an individual woman for being a bad woman, for being like, for lying, for cheating, for emasculating you, for whatever the thing is, blame that individual. But once we get into collectivism, that's weak. That's intellectually weak. It's intellectually dishonest. And then you've kind of like taken your ball and gone home. You're like, I'm not participating anymore. If you want to do that, that's fine. But what to me is evil is then trying to get people on your bandwagon and ruin the rest of their life because your feelings got hurt. That's insane. And that's what you see with a lot of these guys. It's like, I gave up on women. I gave up on marriage. My feelings got hurt. So you better not fall for that trap. And then you're trying to rob other men of the thing that's going to give them the most meaning. So you wonder why they're so angry. It's like you're robbing them of purpose.
So I look at it as like, okay, God gave Adam a job and a purpose first before he gave him a woman. He had to have dominion over the earth and name all the animals and creatures. So that was his job and purpose first. Then he said, oh, it's not good that he's being alone. Let me put him to sleep, make him a woman, right? So then the woman came into his life and, she assisted him on this mission his purpose.
One interpretation of Eve being made is he had all of that. He literally had the earth and it wasn't enough. He was still lonely. He needed something else. I think when you have, like, life is meant to be lived together, right? Yeah. It is a very different.
We are stronger together than we are apart.
Yourself. You have a good partner with you, like whether it's a good man or a good woman, like that gives you energy, that gives you life force. You're like, oh, like she is like boosting me up. Ooh, he's boosting me up. We have children now. You start thinking multi-generational. There's like there's a certain perspective you can't gain if you don't have kids, because you are forced to look at the world beyond yourself, beyond your like your own mortality. And I think that that's what like a husband or wife does for you. So when you have that and you rob people of relationships and you rob people from getting married, you are robbing them from like living life at like the most optimal level. It's just different.
I agree. Would you say that like with the way that divorce is nowadays, it's more than the successful marriage rate, right? I think it's like 54% of marriages end in divorce, and then so that makes 46% don't end in divorce, right? Do you think that there are cultural dynamics? Because I blame the lack of masculinity in one of them, but I do also blame there has to be something equal on the other side too. So we can have a lack of masculinity, male leadership, and men leading the home correctly. But there also has to be, it can't just be that's the only problem. There has to be something else on the other side that contributes to this. So what do you think that other aspect is that could be contributing to it? Because if it's lack of masculinity, then it's just all men's fault. And then that's collectivism. As you said, we're not going to do like collectivism. So what would you say on the other side of it, if it's not lack of masculinity, what could it be on the other side that could be causing the problem?
Well, first, I would say successful marriages are probably closer to 20%. I don't think that staying married by definition means that marriage is successful. I have so many wives.
Yeah, because you'd be like 80 years old and hate your husband and
Right.
hate your wife. Yeah.
So most of my like peer group, like we're in our 30s, and I have these women that have been married, 15, 20 years, and they're just like, they hate their husbands. And it's sex, like that's not successful to me just because they stayed together. To me, like I think the overarching issue with most marriages and like what is leading to failure is like almost competitiveness. It's like this 50-50 arrangement of we are completely the same, like not equal, because I think like we're equal as far as like value goes. Like what we, right, like we complement each other in a very beautiful way. But what I'm saying is like we are not the same, and we are treating men like big hairy women, and we're treating women like small hairless men, and then we wonder why we can't communicate. And it's like, instead of respecting the things that make us uniquely different and finding the ways that we strengthen each other, we're expecting the other person to behave in the exact same way. So like I get mad if he doesn't behave in a way that I would respond, and vice versa, right? Like if there's a lot of men too that like can't hold space for a woman to have emotions. Well, you don't want her to be wildly stoic because that's super masculine. So you want her to be comfortable, and not in an abusive way, not in an unhinged way. Like it's also your job to contain that and set the boundaries. Say like what is a right, like don't let her emasculate you, so hold those boundaries, but also don't be scared for her to have emotions. And there's also women that are like, why don't you talk about everything? Why aren't you more emotional? And it's like, well, do you want to be with a woman? Because you know what I mean? Or like men, and because you are more testosterone driven, you have single focus. So understanding that like if you're already in the middle of something, if you're in the middle of work and I'm like, hey babe, blah blah blah, and you don't hear me and I get mad at that, like I need to understand you were already doing something. I need to like pause, wait, give you a moment, give you up to a minute to respond, because you have other things that you're working on. So it's just understanding the differences. So I think when we get into like the feminist narrative that kind of started all of this, it's like anything a man can do, I can do, bleeding.
I can do better.
Kind of the thing that we're telling young girls. You're like, no, like we are different. And like this expectation of like tit for tat.
Feminism has gone against nature. So when you go against biology and our nature, what you create is cognitive dissonance. So women are literally walking around with one belief, and then in practice it doesn't work. It goes against our nature. So what I've always said is like, instead of women and men being on the same side of the table, working together as a unit, they're on either side of the table and they're competing with each other. So they become enemies.
Yeah, they have made and I say this, I say like a lot of these red pill creators are still making men pedestalize women, right? In a sense, like they're saying that they're not supposed to pedestalize women, but all they're doing is talking about women, right? This woman's a 304, or this woman's this, this and that. And it's just like, well, you're spending all this time online bashing women. You could be applying it to becoming a dominant man, a dominant masculine man. I mean, that's what my mentor wrote his book on. That's what my book is on, a dominant masculine presence. And it's like, I'm not worried about what women are doing. The women that are allowed in my life are the women that I have vetted out, and they want to be in my life. And no one's keeping them in my life. If they want to stay there, that's on their choice. If they want to be out of it, that's their choice too. There's no control. These are the boundaries. This is where I'm comfortable with. And if you're comfortable with that, great, welcome. If you're not cool with that, I wish you the best. There's no anger, no vitriol. There's no like, I want her to get her comeuppance. It's just, I'm not changing mine because this is where I'm comfortable with, and I shouldn't have to negotiate my comfort zone for someone else. You just got to find someone that fits your comfort zone. I think what a lot of the problem is guys want to like, well, men, these ladies have ridiculous expectations. I'm like, well, so do you. Most of you guys think that you deserve supermodels. I don't even know why. Like, I mean, you got 4 chins, and you got bigger titties than she does. So why do you think that you deserve a supermodel? And it's just like, there's unrealistic expectations these days on both sides. I think that marriage right now, the way that it is set up, guys are walking in there blind in many cases. I think we should have a higher standard to entry into marriage. I think there should be more counseling before marriage, before you could get a marriage license. But that's just me, because I don't think either party really knows what's expected of them when they're going into it. And they have this like Disney-esque kind of like image of it, and I don't think that's reality. Like, do you remember that like Ali Best Stuckey tweet, like when a couple months back when she was at TPU USA, and this is shortly after Charlie Kirk died, and she made a statement like, men, porn is bad. You need to stop watching porn. We need our men to be masculine again, and this, that, and the other. And a lot of guys had this huge just backlash on her. Well, you could say objectively, the abuse of this this consumption of this is pacifying men, and it does give them a negative expectation or even a view of women, right? If they think that that's what women are for, and that's how you're supposed to treat your wife.
That was already there first, though, and like that's
I know.
Beautiful.
I'm not disagreeing there. What I was getting at is like, so you're saying don't watch porn, or she was saying don't watch porn, men, and I'm like, cool, that's part of the solution. The other part would be then to the people producing it. You should also talk to them as well. Like, hey, don't make it, don't consume it. Like when we're going after the war on drugs, we go after the drug dealer as we do the drug addict, right? I think that's like what we're seeing on social media is you're only hearing one side of the problem. If they just stop this will be the solution. Well, that's not true, because it takes two to tango. There's two parties here. You got to address both faults on both sides in order to actually solve the problem. And I don't think that's what we're getting at when we're seeing in social media. People are just speaking from one team side rather than from the collective.
Pair bonding has been an issue forever, literally forever. Incels have always existed.
Yep.
Those Vikings that we dream about, like we see that are all like hot and sexy and bearded on TV, like that was probably not really the case. And there's this really good researcher, William Costello, that talks a lot about this. So like they weren't the best of the best men that were going out to see. They were actually sending off the incels because they weren't bonding. They weren't establishing relationships. And because of like that repressed sexual tension, they were creating havoc where they were. So let's send them away. They can go conquer, rape, and pillage, and then everybody wins, right? So like that's how it used to look. And then instead of like that really
romanticized it.
Right. So instead of that behavior, now they're in their basement watching porn. So there's always been a subset of men that have not been able to pair bond for probably good reasons, right? Like there's probably like they're unable to have any kind of empathy. So they're not like mirroring in relationship. They might not have like good genetics. Like there's always going to be a subset of men that women don't like. So now they're on the internet and that violence is like going into a keyboard. So we can talk about like porn being the problem. There's always been a problem of like too many angry men and not enough women. So we can cancel porn, but then what's going to happen? Like there's going to be something that replaces it without a doubt. And then again, like this isn't, like to me, it's like such an exhausting issue because with AI and deepfakes, like it's going to exist whether people are making the content or not. It's never going to go away. So like, let's address the root issue. Let's fix relationships and stop worrying about the boogeyman because like that's there to stay. I hate to break it to you. It's not going anywhere.
No, I agree with you. I agree with that because I mean, I think now with the deepfakes and like AI, like I've heard, I've read articles where even girls that were in the industry choosing to opt out now. They're struggling to gain what they used to make because of these deep fakes and and stuff like that. The AI chatbots, and it's just like.
Let me get into that with you. Do you think AI is going to take? I've always said it's not going to take over. It's only going to assist girls who have public figure or they're online. It's actually going to assist them and make them more efficient. Now, what do you think about that? Do you think that it's actually going to replace a lot of these OnlyFans girls?
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a tool just like anything else. So like everyone's always worried that like the disruptive technology is going to leave everyone destitute, and it's never the case. It always creates more jobs than it takes away. So I think it's no different with AI. I do think that there is a certain group of people that like knowing it's not a person, so like they will kind of deviate and go there. But it's just like anyone that like wants anything that's handmade or artisanal. Like there is something to the human element and like the human touch that we are drawn to and that we're willing to pay a premium for. And I don't think that that goes away with sex, intimacy, or connection. I think it actually is probably going to be heightened in those areas. So like anything, it's going to be like keep someone like me young forever, right? So like there'll be a version of me that it always exists.
AI has been around long before we were even aware that it was around, right? Like even autocorrect was a sense of an AI. Like we've had so many things assisting us. that we don't even, like, over 30% of our products are already AI driven. So that's why it kind of makes me laugh, because they're like, no, they're not going to, they love to say that, oh, they're going to replace you girls. And I'm like, no, they're not. It's actually made my job more efficient, because now I don't need to be traveling here and there and everywhere. I can just pump out my content. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, especially with things like OnlyFans, the main source of revenue there is in the DMs. It's in the conversations. It's in those tips. It's not in content. So again, people are paying because they want to talk to a person. So I don't think anything
breaking the fourth wall.
Correct.
They're able to break the fourth. They're able to establish a relationship that they're lacking in. Whether they're married, they're not getting this person that's doting on them or interested in them like they used to. You know, now they got somebody that's not. They're not getting that draw from their spouse that they're getting from this OnlyFans person or this chat bot or whatever it is.
Porn's not going anywhere. It's going to be here. We know AI is coming. That's just only going to make the jobs more efficient. We know that's going to, like, make people online even more, because now they can pump out more content. So our solutions going forward for marriages, I've always said it comes down to self-control. I've always said that, right? Because if you have self-control, you're not trying to control what other people do. You're not concerned how that person's dressing or what that person's posting. You're not concerned if your husband is doing something that you don't know. You control what you can control, and everything else you let go. So what would you give as to solutions for people who are struggling in these areas? Like, what do you think is the solution going forward for marriages?
So I love having like tactical, actionable items, because I mean, we can get into like the polarity, which I think is like the biggest thing, right? It's like he really needs to be in his masculine, she really needs to be in his feminine, and then from there we can kind of work. I think once the relationship's depolarized, it's like really hard to get that charge back. It's like when we used the fire example earlier, as long as there's some embers there, like there's something to work with. But if I go and I dump a bunch of water on there, like now we're starting from scratch and it's going to be completely different. So I think it is finding the way that like you guys can kind of like live in that energy. Like, how do I become more feminine? Like, what makes me feel soft and surrendered and safe, and what makes me feel like a man, right? And like address those root issues. But as far as like fun things that I think that are great, it's like, first we have to like make the communication around sex fun, and we have to get rid of the shame or like the expectation that I have to just like be this good girl and I have to be like pure and pristine. Like, let's get like playful with it. So there's this exercise that I have couples do, and I actually learned about it when I was like going through my first postpartum, because it's like, how do you maintain intimacy when sex is off the table, right? Like, you want to still have intimacy. It's so crucial. So you do this thing called the sexual buffet, which is so fun. So you sit, like once like kids are in bed or whatever, like you do this at date night, and you each have a notebook, and like imagine that any fantasy is on the table. Like, you write down every single thing that turns you on, that you want to do, that you haven't tried yet. And it can be as simple as like, I want to play I want to play with dirty talk, or I would really like to wear this outfit, or I would really like to like start with maybe like tantra massage, like whatever it is, like get as creative and specific as you want. And then when you're done, you switch lists, and then you kind of compare them, and you're like, what is my yes, no, maybe on this? And you guys do your yes, no, maybes, and you can put these little things in like a jar, and on date night, like each one pick one, and like you have this whole new way to explore sexuality with the same person. It's like, how deep can I go, and how much nuance can I have with like the same person? And to me, I think it's like really fun and playful, and it's a really cool activity, especially for couples that maybe are a little bit more trepidatious about talking about sex. Like, oh, I can't, like he'll judge me. And what you end up finding out is the thing that you were so worried about, like let's say dirty talk, for example, and you're like, oh, he's going to think I sound so stupid, but it's on his list too. And you're like, oh my God, we're into the same thing, right? And now you've connected on a different level.
That's a good idea. I like it. I've heard of people doing like something similar, not exactly, like where they have like these cute little things where, you know, she'll do something cute in the house, whether it be like flash him or whatever. Like, I've heard of things like that, but never the little jar. That's really a good idea.
Yeah, the flashing's really cute, though. I like that.
I mean, I'm never going to deny flashing. I mean, like, you're not going to hear me complain. I always say, you know, guys have to get the lead in the bedroom. You know, leadership doesn't stop at, you know, providing and protecting. Actually, I think men have a really bad understanding of what providing and protecting is. They think it's all just materialistic, providing a roof over their head, and I'm providing food in their belly, and I'm protecting bad guys. Well, you have to provide them with the environment where they could be in that mindset, because women are everywhere in their mind. Like, you don't want them to think about the laundry and the kids, and you want them to focus on this moment. So you have to help facilitate the environment where she could be in that moment with you. And that takes leadership. You have to lead that. And that's providing that mental stimulation, also helping foster that environment to where she could be sexual with you at that time. So I think that takes initiative and takes, an action. You have to constantly help facilitate that.
Yeah, I think for me, like the thing that helps the most when I'm like in my head, because you nailed it, like women, like it's very hard to get into our bodies if we have a lot going on. For me, it's like a really intense touch, like some kind of like, whether it's like you do a spanking or like you pick her up or like you do something to get her back into her body is really big. Or this is where like dirty talk is huge, because like if she's thinking about laundry to do, I look fat, whatever it is, if you start talking to her and bringing her into the moment, like you smell so good, or I love the way that like your thigh does this, whatever it is, like bring her into the moment and into her body. Like those two things can like really make a huge difference.
Or be like, hey, are you thinking about laundry? Here, I'm helping me get some more laundry.
like for me, I talk about solutions to simplify, because women have a tendency to have all these kind of ideals of what they want in a relationship or a marriage. Like they're the ones that typically want the bigger house. They're the ones that typically want the 2 cars. They're the ones who want the private schools and the new outfits, right? So they kind of consume more in product, right? Overall. And what that does is it creates more things to do, more maintenance. And so I think women really need to simplify and come down so that they can focus more on their husband. And so that's kind of my solution around it, is like, control what you can, right? So get yourself in the gym, get your body right, dress sexy, don't care about people's opinion other than your husband, and then try to simplify your life so that you can focus more on your husband. I think that's a good solution for people.
Yeah, I think even more onto that, it's by wanting all of those extra things that like require him to work more and spend more time away from you and more time away from the family, you're exacerbating that disconnect, because what maybe you got to see each other for 10 hours a week and now that's dwindled down to 5, right? So you have to say, like, what is the thing that I'm really prioritizing and that actually makes me happy? Is it going to be the bigger house that's making my husband stay away from me? Or is it, like you said, simplifying so that we can have more time together? Like, which one is better?
So even just knowing when, like, again, back to the leadership aspect, it's knowing when, okay, if this is important, this needs to be a priority, right? If intimacy is important, then it needs to be a priority, and we need to prioritize it. And if she's distracted with something, you need to kind of recenter her back into what's a priority, what we agreed is a priority. The laundry, it's important, but you know what? It's not as much of a priority as this is right now, right? Like, so being able to lead that. And I think a lot of guys have a hard time with this because, again, I blame the purity culture, is that they have been taught sex is bad, sex is bad. Now they're married and now they're saying, okay, sex is good. But they have this icky shame feel when it comes to sex, or like, oh, guys just think with their little head instead of the big head. So it's like, oh, I don't want her to think that I'm just, objectifying her all the time. No, women, it's okay. She's your
I
wife.
want to be objectified. If my man's not objectifying me, I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Exactly. No, objectify her. That's
yeah. It kind of leads me into the Madonna whore complex, right? Like you like, I know might be another topic for another day, but I do think that this is a problem. And I've always said, as a woman, at least for myself, I believe in wearing multiple hats. Like, I have no problem being my husband's whore. Like, I don't see why a woman has to be one way. It's not helpful for the relationships. What do you think about that?
I think both sexes can fall into this trap, right? So a lot of moms are like, they get stuck in that mom mode and they completely lose connection with their sexuality, and they actually will get like, they'll punish their husband for trying to do something. I'm a mom, I can't do that anymore. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how did that kid get here in the first place, right? Like, the cognitive dissonance there is insane. And then some men do it too, though. They're like, you are a mother, and they'll punish her for still being sexual. When we're both. We're both of the things, right? Like yes, I am a mother. That is like that softness, that nurturing, like that's there. But in the right context, I'm also going to be the whore, and like you should encourage that, right? So I think it's like it's,
women don't understand male sexuality. That's why I say that, because male sexuality can compartmentalize. So they can literally shut off their brain in sex, right? And they can envision one thing during sex and then be a completely different person after sex, right? So because of that, they've been able to compartmentalize. So if a woman is leading or framing herself as, I am the mother, don't call me a whore, I'm not your whore, then don't be surprised when your man puts you into his own little box and then goes looks elsewhere for the whore.
yeah, you have to be both. I don't think it's healthy to just do either one in its own. I think especially for those moms that get so focused in that identity, when the kid gets older and you're no longer the center of their universe, like your marriage is going to spiral. You're going to spiral because you just lost your entire identity. So like once the kids leave, it's like you're left with just your spouse. So that relationship needs to be maintained. And like the one thing that kind of differentiates that relationship from everything else is that intimacy, is that sexuality. So you have to keep that alive. And I don't think that should ever go away. Like I have a lot of friends that are sex therapists, and they work with clients that are in their 80s that are still having great sex lives. Like there's no expiration.
You know, some people say sex is the glue that holds relationships together. I say intimacy is the glue that holds relationships together. Mm-hmm. And that's something that like saying like intimacy is not just sex, but it always leads to sex. So intimacy is important. It's not only sex, but it leads to it. So if you are fostering a healthy, intimate life between you and your spouse, that will always lead to the sex, which they say is the glue that holds everything together. That is critical. Once you start letting other things get involved, the kids, work, this event, that event, well, now you're losing time for this intimacy, and intimacy has to be at least the top 3 priority for any couple if they want to maintain a healthy relationship, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, because there are going to be times where sex just isn't on the table, right? Like if someone is sick, if someone is injured, like, right. There's going to be times where like there's a season and it's usually pretty short, but that's not there. So again, it's like, what can I do to maintain the intimacy? And like, maybe that is like sensual touch, and that's massage, and that's cuddling, and that's like deep conversations. Like this is going to be different for everyone. It's kind of like a love language, but there's so many couples that expect mind reading to happen and they don't actually say the thing out loud. And of course you're going to be left disappointed if you're not saying what my needs are. So, I mean, with my guy now, like it's always like, what do you need that I'm not giving you? Is there something I can be doing more? Right. And there's never shame. There's never blame. Both of us are like eager to make the other one's needs met.
That's a good point. I want to reiterate for the viewers. So I do this in my marriage as well. I always go to my husband and I say, what is it that I can do for you? Is there something that I can make your day better, right? And also another thing that I constantly do is I'm very transparent about what he wants in sex. Like I'm always down to trying new things in sex. So I think that there's not enough of that going on in marriages. It's kind of like the lights off, the starfish, like, right? Am I right?
Yeah, that is unfortunately most relationships, but I'm the same way. So like we'll put stuff on the calendar, like because we have a shared one, so we'll do like different emojis. And we're like, oh, we're doing that tonight, So you have to make it playful, and that should all like there should never be a day where there hasn't been like some kind of play, right? Even if it's like a text and like can't be together, like some touch point that's playful, that's intimate, that's like a little bit sexy, but at least once a day.
Or that you or him doesn't feel like you're walking on eggshells to say something that's a desire.
Yeah. And it goes back to like, if you want to have trust within a relationship, like the other person has to trust that they can come to you without you blowing up, right? So otherwise you're going to kind of encourage them to lie or like withhold, and that's not healthy.
Before we end, there was one last thing I wanted to get into. I think this is very important, and I left it for the end. The child aspect, right? I know you get hit with this a lot online, right? You hear people go, well, if porn's not gonna, ever be banned, or porn's not gonna go away, we have to be thinking about the kids. And I think that this is a good topic. What do you think going forward? Because I know you have kids as well. How do you stop them, or how do you prevent that?
So I think what I see a lot right now is it's like a lack of accountability. Like we're trying to like outsource the responsibility of child rearing in every single way, right? We get mad about the food pyramid changing. Well, like the government shouldn't be in your house telling you what to do. Like you should be smart enough to know what to feed your kid. Like same thing with like parents that just drop their kid off at school and like not my problem anymore. And you're basically letting the state raise your kid. I want Big Daddy to come in and like ban porn so my kid doesn't see it. Okay, well, like at the end of the day, it's your family. It is your responsibility to protect, provide, and like create the morals and values within that ecosystem. This goes back to like kids shouldn't have access to tools that they are not ready for. I'm not going to give my 8-year-old a revolver. That would be stupid, right? I would be irresponsible. It's the same thing with the internet. So until your kid has like the tools to be able to navigate the internet, there needs to be safeguards. So whether that is like just a kid tablet that doesn't have open access to the internet, which is what I do, right? Like everything is just downloaded and that's it. That's a good step. Once they start becoming like, I don't know, it's probably like around like 9, 10, where they have to be on the internet for school even. It's, again, making sure that you have something like Bark installed on the computer, which will go to the parent's phone. If there's like dodgy text going back and forth, even on something like Snapchat, it'll notify the parent. So you just have to make sure that like you have the proper guardrails on this. Like I'm not going to give my 16-year-old keys to a Ferrari and say, like, go figure out how to drive. Like I'm going to slowly introduce you at age appropriate levels. So once they are of the conversation of talking about sex, like there is going to be content on there that you might stumble across. If you find it, I want you to feel free to come to me. I will answer your questions. Like I don't want them to have so much shame around it that they find something dangerous, can't come to me, and then they go into this like rabbit hole and they think that that's what love is, or that's what sex is, or that's what consent is. That's really scary. So if you have this kind of abstinence only and not education, you're actually like doing more damage, I think. So it's, again, like having the safeguards and having age appropriate conversations around it, knowing that unfortunately like you don't have control of what their their kids are their friends' parents are allowing, right? So maybe their device is protected, but their friends isn't. So that's why you have to say, like, you might see content that makes you feel yucky, that makes you feel scared, that makes you feel confused. If you see that, come to me, right? Because this could even be violent material. So like take the sexual charge, right? Like that moral like outrage that we feel about sex. Well, like let's also talk about violence, because that's also all over the internet, like really, really violent things that I wouldn't want my kid to see either. So they need to know that there's a whole bunch of content that's not appropriate for them, and that they need to be able to come to me.
Like I didn't give my son a cell phone because I said if he can't afford his own cell phone, why does he have a cell phone? Like that's the way I handle it in my house.
Well, there's also phones now too that don't have internet. So it's just phone calls, and there's no camera on them either. That's another conversation that people are just not having, which is like these kids that are sending photos back and forth to each other, and they don't realize even the sender can get hit with child pornography charges. So if you're the girl and you send, a photo to a boy and you're both 15, she can also get hit. Like these conversations need to be had because the consequences could be dire. So we need to stop with like the purity, like shame bullshit, because it's going to hurt our kids. Like we just have to have these honest, and I don't know why we say uncomfortable, because I'm not like, my kid was like maybe 2 when we started talking about body parts, right? And like, what is yours, and like what, like, and proper names too, right? Like, because if you are saying like my cookie or whatever, like that's not admissible in court. You have to be able to say the body part. So protect your kids by giving them the tools, and like those tools when they're little are words, right? And it's education.
Yeah, well, thank you, Candice. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
If there was anything that you missed or that we think of later, we'll have you in the studio and do something in person.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, that'll be fun once we build out the studio and get all that squared away. It'll be really good. Really
yeah,
good.
In person's always the way to go if you can do it.
We said we should do is get Sterling over, meet up in Florida, right? And then have the 4 of us and just like send out all these images, and people are like, oh my God, the outrage, and then just like do the podcast.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Do you have any like projects coming up?
Yeah, we have a couple shows that we're working on right now. So I still have the Chatting with Candice. I take the other 2 that we're working on. Will be, hopefully it's going to be on the Drinking Bros Network, and we'll see when that airs. But there's like some pretty big guests that'll be on there, which I'm really excited about.
walks in with a dumb